All right, so it turns out that survivors are the more toxic role by far, and it's not even close. Now, I obviously knew this already. It's pretty obvious if you're a killer main. Survivors are way more toxic. You see it in game all the time. You see it on social media and the forums all the time. It's pretty obvious. But I wanted to make a video out of it so that way nobody could just deny it, right? You do see people saying that killers are more toxic. You see people saying survivors are more toxic. If you have a brain cell and you pay attention to this game, survivors are the more toxic role by far, and it's not even close. So I played 20 matches, all of which you can see in the background, the survivors being toxic. And it turns out out of 20 matches, 17 of them featured toxic survivors. Now, whether that be them bitching in endgame chat, insulting me, teabagging mid-match, things like that. I did tunnel in one match, and I did slug in another match. So if you want to discount those, that's fine. That makes it 15 out of 20, which I believe is 75% or 70%. I don't know. I'm terrible at math. But then when we get to the survivor side of things, it gets interesting. One killer was toxic out of 15 possible killers. And that is this plague right here. And I don't even know if she's being toxic, to be honest. She downs the Daryl and starts swinging at him and puking all over him. I'm counting it as toxic, but I don't know. I kind of think they were goofing around because he's like wobbling around and stuff, but I'm just going to count it as toxic, right? And then not only that, in the 15 survivor matches that I played, half of the matches featured a toxic survivor. For example, this Thalita, thankfully she's on anonymous mode, she hid the whole match, didn't do anything, and then she proceeds to hide on the hatch, teabagging for 2 minutes straight. 2 minutes straight. I did come to the conclusion also that survivors are far more likely to be toxic when they win. A lot of the times, if you win as killer, survivors aren't really toxic. They will be in in-game chat, but they usually don't teabag. I figure that's because they're kind of trying to lock in and they really can't afford to be toxic in that way. But this is the only match that I have. There were, like I said, there were 3 matches with nice survivors. This was one of them. This is the only one I have recorded. I missed a few of those nice matches just because I wasn't even going to record them at first. I was just going to tell you about them. But these guys, you know, they didn't stay. They didn't shine me with flashlights. They didn't try to make me whiff or anything. They just left immediately. And actually, in the end-game chat, they were very sweet about it. And I was actually shocked because every single time I've been 4-mana outed, I got teabagged. And when I was playing Trapper, I was purposely losing every single match because it's like, that's the most likely time survivors are to teabag. And these guys actually didn't teabag. And I was actually legitimately shocked. I had played 9 matches in a row. Every single match featured a toxic survivor, and these guys were all nice. So I was like, wow. So there are some nice, like Swifts out there, I guess. I think this was a Swift. I don't know. But needless to say, you get to the survivor matches here. Not a single killer is toxic. I have all the matches. If anybody wants me to post them all, it would be probably like a 10-hour video. So I don't know when I'd actually be able to get around to it, but yeah. And also, we actually got 2 nice killers. 2 nice killers that actually let us escape. That being a Wesker and a Bubba, who was just protecting his little chest in the basement. So that's why we died. We could have all left, but we decided not to. We were messing around with the Bubba. And then we get to another situation where a survivor is just being an absolute baby because they got hooked 2 times back-to-back. So they throw a completely winnable game and just decide not to play anymore. So, you know, again, that throwing a game is toxic. Oh, also one of the matches I have over here is the clown match. I do consider this toxic. 3 survivors DC'd and left me and this David to play together. Yeah, DCing because you don't like a killer is toxic in my opinion. You click play the game and then you just decide you don't want to play against a certain killer. I don't care what state the killer's in. You're DCing. You're leaving one survivor with it. You know, that's toxic in my opinion. What is it? 35 games in total. And we're looking at 24 of the games featuring a toxic survivor. 17 out of 20 of my killer games featured a toxic survivor. And it was about half of the 15 games, about 7 games on the survivor side where there was also an additional toxic survivor. And one single killer was toxic out of the 15 games. So I kind of just wanted to make a video about this just for everybody to see. I don't know why survivors are so toxic. I don't know what draws them to this role, but generally survivors not I'm not even going to say the majority of survivors are toxic cuz like I said out of, 120 survivors, probably only 40 to 50 of them were actually toxic. A lot of the others were just bystanders who just left, while the others were teabagging and things like that. So I'm in no way trying to say that all survivors are toxic, but survivors are the more toxic role by far. It's not even close. And you can just see this in the content if you look on TikTok, on YouTube. It's always clips of survivors bullying killers, And I guess I kind of get it to a degree because there's not really like, what else can you do? A survivor gameplay at the end of the day is very boring to watch. I don't know how any channels exist around it. Like if it's just a survivor who's just good at looping it, it's boring to watch. They run around a loop 37 times and they vault a piece of wood 20 times. It's just not interesting. So they have to incorporate bullying to stay relevant and to keep it entertaining. And then, they insult the killers and stuff like that just because that's part of their content. The killer side of the game is way more interesting to watch. It's way more skill expressive and powers and things like that. So I guess I kind of understand where the built-in toxicity comes from. That's what I'm guessing where it really comes from. And I also kind of just wanted to note how this game has changed since I started playing 5 years ago. You can see some of my oldest videos when I first started playing. When I got beat, survivors would actually let me hit them at the gate and then leave. Nowadays, if you try to hit a survivor at the gate, they'll wait till you swing and then they'll exit so that way you don't even get the hit. You don't get the blood points. You just hit the entity blocker and look like an idiot. But back when I first started playing, they would actually let you hit them. Sometimes they would let you down them. Sometimes they might even give you hooks. They don't do any of that anymore. Now, whether that was because I was at low MMR and survivors are nicer at low MMR, or survivors have just gotten progressively more toxic over the years, that remains to be seen. But yeah, so that was it. I just wanted to talk about this. Pretty interesting. Actually not really interesting for me. I knew for a fact that survivors were more toxic. It was pretty obvious just going off the games I play because, if you can, I encourage you guys to do this for yourselves too. You could just do 10 or maybe 5 killer matches and then 5 survivor matches. I would recommend 10 because that can allow you to break it down into an even 100-point percentage system, right? But I guarantee you that out of the 10 killer matches, you might get 1 to 2 toxic killers max. And then on the survivor side of things, low end, you'll probably get 4. High end, you'll get 8 to 9. So yeah. So that's it. I just wanted to talk about it and make this video and kind of prove conclusively and factually that survivors are the more toxic role. Because, yeah, I've been repeating myself, but yeah, that's it. I just wanted to prove that survivors are way more toxic by far on average. It's not even close. So, yeah, that does it for this one. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.